The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Maria Petrie Martin at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. And I have with me today, also from NCDPI, Hunter Huffman, who is our special projects manager for this particular project. And we are here today to give you additional information on the K-8 digital literacy solution, learning.com, and the resource that is being made available to you through our General Assembly for Tier 1 counties. Keep in mind that also on the webinar with us today, we have Michelle and Brian from learning.com. So I will start off the webinar sharing information that some of you probably heard during the superintendent's quarterly meeting on March 28th here in Raleigh. But then I will turn it over to Michelle from learning.com, who will give you quite a bit more specifics regarding their solution. And then we will open it up for questions. So that is going to be the series of events during today's webinar. But before I continue, I'm going to do a voice check just to make sure that everyone can hear us. And we do have our chat feature open. So if you need to type in anything, please go ahead and do so. But if you could just let us know if you can hear us.
Yep, sounds like we're good.
So as I said, we spent some time with about almost 90 local superintendents at the superintendent's quarterly meeting here in Raleigh at the end of March. And during that presentation, we gave them a brief background regarding this particular solution, the goals for the solution, an overview. We gave them some high-level information regarding the contract cost, and then the Tier 1 subsidy specifically. And we know that those of you on the call were invited because you were in a Tier 1 county. And then, as I said, we're going to have our partners from learning.com share more with you about the solution and give more specifics, and then how to get started with that solution. So just to give you some background, we know that there was legislation passed in 2016 in which the funds for the Digital Learning Initiative were going to be used for cooperative purchasing of digital content. So the legislation passed and was mandated an assessment of local K-8 digital literacy efforts in economically distressed counties, hence our Tier 1 counties, per our Department of Commerce. And then we were tasked with developing a plan to strengthen those efforts. And so we went through an RFP process. It was a very lengthy RFP process, much longer than any of us intended it to be. But the procurement actually closed in late March of 2019. And the new state selected vendor for this initiative is learning.com. So you can tell the procurement closed at the end of March, and we literally began sharing it with the superintendents within days of the procurement process closing. So we really have not let a whole lot of time sit and waste. We moved relatively quickly once the procurement closed. So the goals of this particular solution, first and foremost, is to enable our students to learn more about digital literacy skills. We know that that is an important feature of the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. So of course, this is in alignment with the career and college readiness goals that we have for our students across the state of North Carolina. And I'm not going to list everything that we want our students to be able to do, but we do want them to use digital content responsibly and be good citizens of digital content. And of course, our partners at learning.com will tell you more about that. We also wanted this solution to provide digital literacy growth and tips on integrating digital literacy into the core and supplemental subjects for our teachers. So we do believe that this is a resource that will benefit our teachers as well. And then also there is a key component here to assist our English learners as well with resources that they would need to excel. So as we think about learning.com and all of the different things that we have here, here's a slide that just gives you a few things that are within the system. So it is a platform that has digital literacy curriculum assessments. There is some comprehensive professional development training and ongoing support that will be included with the purchase of a site license. And Michelle from learning.com will be able to tell you more about that today. There are dashboards, which are critically important for you all to gauge if this is an effective tool. Dashboards that will be at the school district and state level. We have made sure that this can be integrated into your LMSs, your learning management systems, and within NCED Cloud IM integration, which we know is our statewide solution currently for integrating a lot of our software applications. Direct vendor managed help desk support for schools and districts. And again, Michelle will talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, as we're all concerned about security when it comes to any of our IT projects, we know that this is in compliance with the state security and architectural requirements that we have from our Department of Technology here, DIT, here in Raleigh. So the contract cost, as I said, local superintendents in late March, there are really two ways that you can price this out. The first is the $3,200 per site license locked in for 3 years. And then there is a 3% annual increase. Or you could choose to do it per student license at $7.50 a student locked in for 3 years within a 3% annual increase. So there are a couple of contract costs there. And in this slide for Tier 1 subsidies, which of course you're on the call today because you are in a Tier 1 county, it breaks it down even more because you are getting some subsidized funding from the state to be able to do this work for this year. So it talks about an adoption allotment versus an implementation allotment. We are really encouraging people to move forward with at least getting your licenses in place as we head into the end of this fiscal year. And our vendors will partner with us to make that happen. But we also know that as we move this work forward, you have an opportunity to support this adoption with professional development. You can also get funds for devices as well, not just the site license subscription. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are any questions before I turn it over to Michelle from learning.com, who will go into some very specifics about the actual solution, the product, and then how they're going to work with all of us in making sure our LEAs move forward and get started. So do we have any questions in our chat box?
So I see one. Will we get a copy of this PowerPoint? Yeah, so we will make sure that this is posted on the Homebase learn.com website page. And we're recording this webinar, so we'll make sure that the webinar is shared as well.
It's a great question.
It looks like that's it for now.
So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle at learning.com, and she will take us through the specifics of the product.
Hi, good morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Petrie-Martin. What a fantastic opportunity for us to partner with you all and also share this solution and ways that it can help. We have several districts that have already signed up, and we're so very excited about this opportunity. So I just want to take a minute to thank you guys. As she mentioned, my name is Michelle Spence. I am the North Carolina representative for learning.com. I see some names here that are familiar. I'm so excited to share this information with you. And again, I'm always available to answer questions. Again, as Dr. Petrie-Martin mentioned, Learning.com is here to support you all in implementing and providing a curriculum that helps support everything that we're trying to do with the Digital Literacy Initiative. You can skip forward, Hunter. Just a very brief overview of who we are. Learning.com is out of Portland, Oregon. Our company has been around for about 20 years now, and we've been doing this all along. So what we found is starting out just trying to teach kids and teachers how to make the most of technology has become really mainstream, really popular, and we're really excited about the chance to work with you all. You can see here, of course, we're in all 50 states. We work internationally. About 1.5 million students at this point that use our curriculum, and we're really, really proud of our, seals of alignment with ISTE standards and the awards that we've been awarded over the years. You could skip forward. So Learning.com, of course, our big mission is about making sure that these kids have the skills that they need to be successful in this, ever-changing digital world. And there's lots of ways that we feel that we can do that. You can see here that lots of different areas of technology that need to be considered when we think about making sure that the kids have the skills and those, abilities to be able to make the most of computers. Things like ROI on the investment that you all have made in technology, both with machines and with access. We want to make sure that you're getting the most of what you're putting out there for the students. Of course, now we have standards, both national and state standards that all include technology skills. We can help you implement those. Online assessments, that's another one that's become really important, that kids have those digital skills to demonstrate what we're learning in those core areas. And just equity, I know that's a big part of the fact that, we're doing this with a lot of you in these Tier 1 counties, so that we can make sure that these kids have that same access and those same skills as their peers. So you can move. So the big question, what is digital literacy? I imagine most of you know, but I just wanted to point out one more time that the whole goal of this is that kids actually have skills and the teachers have support that help us really understand and interact with technology to take things to the next level, so that whenever students are interacting or working with technology, they actually have the knowledge and the background and the skills so that they can work in all sorts of digital media, which I'm going to talk about what those different skills look like. But when you talk about digital literacy, it's more than digital citizenship. It's more than computational thinking or coding. It's all of those skills that make students successful as they're working with technology. You could go ahead. So one way you can break this down would be to actually look at what are those skills? What are the things that kids need to know? You can see we've broken this up into different categories. But this is everything from, think about the babies learning what is a mouse? How does that work? How do I find a key on the keyboard? What is a processor? What does it do? And then this of course interweaves with online safety, digital citizenship. What is cyberbullying? What is my digital footprint? Communicating online. How does a GPS work? And then business applications, things like spreadsheets, word processing, presentation software. And then, of course, I mentioned computational thinking and coding, but all throughout science standards, all throughout just life standards. Students need to understand thinking in patterns and formulas, and then coding, of course, computer science. And our curriculum is K-8 curriculum that teaches all of these skills through all of the grades, and it's a collection of both online assessments, online lessons and projects, but also completely supportive of a teacher so that they can actually implement these things and integrate them into what they're already doing in their classroom. Okay, you could go on. Okay, so our project with the DPI really contains 3 big pieces. The first piece, of course, is finding out what the students already know and what we could actually support them in growing and getting better at. So there's something called the ISTE standards. I imagine most of you know what those are. Those are standards that have come out. They're really considered the benchmark for technology skills for students K through 12. And these ISTE standards, and you could look online if you want to look up the ISTE standards. Many of you know them as the NETS standards. They changed to ISTE-S standards a couple of years ago. But the ISTE standards are really the foundation of what we teach, the foundation behind the skills that we believe students need to know. And we actually have an assessment that assesses students on these standards so that we can find out, of course, what students already know, where we can support them. But of course, as you can see here, it's also a nice way to measure their growth, to get a really good picture of how we're performing and how the students perform on those ISTE standards. So this is an assessment that will be available to all of you that decide to partner with us. This assessment is specifically to test those ISTE S standards, each one of those benchmarks. And you can see here that there's a variety of question types. So there's some that's performance that literally mimic what would happen on a computer. Of course, there's multiple choice. We have lots of different formats of how it works. And then you can also see here that there's accessibility built in and all kinds of things in a very simple way with really great reporting to come back and be able to report both up front how students are doing, but also be able to measure growth as we go through this project. Easy Tech is actually the name of our K through 8 digital literacy curriculum. And this curriculum is what most of you have seen if you've been with me for the demonstration. This is a web-delivered curriculum that teaches students technology skills. It's done through a collection of lessons that are independent, engaging opportunities for students to learn skills and practice those skills. And then we also have projects. We actually call them application exercises, where now your students and your teachers are going to have the opportunity to take those skills that they've learned and they can actually apply them in some way. So for example, we talked about things like spreadsheets. That third grade student may have some lessons and learn how to use a spreadsheet, what a column is, how to sort, how to create a bar graph, whatever that may be. But that application exercise is going to walk a teacher through now applying that skill through perhaps creating a Google Sheet or creating a spreadsheet through Excel or something like that to actually demonstrate that they know how to use this skill in an academic setting. Because the whole point of this is not to teach technology in isolation, it's to teach a skill and then have them use that skill to then apply what they're learning in all of their content areas. So Easy Tech is the name of that curriculum. Easy Tech, as I mentioned, is web delivered. We're HTML5. We work on all devices. So it could be used in a tablet. It could be used on a Chromebook. A lot of you have asked me that. I know that Dr. Petrie-Martin mentioned this, but we are fully integrated, able to integrate with an LMS such as Canvas. We have a Google Classroom integration that some of you have asked about as well. These lessons and projects are direct to students through the technology, and they can even do these things at home, after school, center situations, and so forth. Inquiry is our project-based learning curriculum. So this is really focused. It's based on project-based learning, Inquiry, if you're familiar with that. We meet those ISTE standards 100%. And what this is a collection, K through 8, of projects that are all done online there are 2 ELA, 2 math, a science, and a social studies full project for grades K through 8. So they start with a pretest. We find out about their technology level for the specific project that they're going to do. Of course, we start with an inquiry question. And you can see here that they go through, they do that pretest. And then online, they go through, they work through a project. Of course, guided by the teacher. We walk the teacher through a lesson plan on how to do that project. And then they go through and do a rubric and self-assess as well. And I'm so glad that I added this piece. All of those Easy Tech lessons, as well as these inquiry projects, are available both in English and Spanish as well. And then the last slide here, I wanted to bring up, and I love the fact that Ernie's actually on this call. I just saw his name here. So Ernie Connor is the Director of Technology and CTE in Warren County Schools. And we are so proud that he's been a customer of ours for, I believe we're going on 4 years now with Warren County Schools. And up until now, Ernie had been purchasing the program, of course, with his own funds and implementing the program in the middle school grades. As a matter of fact, when I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, he said that it really just started out with CTE as a keyboarding program, looking at, building up those kids' keyboarding skills, and that it has really morphed into more than that, and he has been able to use it with those core area teachers, and they've really embraced the program. And he's excited, of course, by this project because of the funding. He's going to be able to move it down into the elementary grades. I put this quote here by Ernie because one of the conversations, of course, that's come up with many of you is about implementation. And is this just one more thing? I really don't want to offer one more thing for my teachers to have to learn and implement. I want it to enhance and improve what they're already doing. And Ernie, I hope you're okay with us sharing this out for everyone. I know you've already spoken to some of the districts, but I wanted to make sure that everybody heard from one of your own that this is not one more thing, that this is really about, the core area teachers being able to say, wow, this is really enhancing what I'm doing. It's making my core area stronger. And it is something that they're really more and more embracing and saying, wow, this is actually a tool to help me make the most of my core area subjects. So thank you, Ernie, for all of your partnership and commitment to our program, but also for this quote. I think the next slide just has my contact information. Obviously, there's more and more to show you. There's a lot of information as far as if you wanted to see those assessments, if you wanted to see the Easy Tech curriculum, if you want to see those inquiry projects, please reach out to me. This is my phone number and my email. I'm available to all of you at any time. We can set up an online presentation. We can have a conversation about implementation. Of course, I can answer your specific questions about our programs. And I would love the opportunity to do that. So thank you so much.
So before we go to our last slide that discusses how to get started, we do have a question in the chat box. And the question is, did I hear you say that we will have another assessment for 5th and 8th grades in addition to the 3 subject areas that are tested in those grades? So when Michelle used the phrase assessment, she was discussing assessments within the system and the solution to assist with knowing if the students are achieving success on the competencies. She was not referring to a statewide summative assessment that would be on digital literacy. So thank you so much for asking that question. We are not talking about a statewide summative assessment. We are talking about assessments within this solution to help you determine if the students are getting the instruction within this solution. Michelle, do you want to add anything else to that?
No, and thank you. You're right. That's a great question. First of all, it's not required even for our system. Right. It's definitely a fantastic tool if you want to know how students are performing on those ISTE standards. We can certainly use it to inform the instruction within learning.com, but is not necessary. You don't actually have to do it to be able to use our solution.
And then I see one other question, and please continue to type in questions. We'll make sure we address those one by one. The other question is, in allowable use of funds, does anything supporting the adoption of state vendor mean only learning.com? And so to clarify, in order to receive the Tier 1 funding, your district or charter school does need to sign a contract with learning.com and purchase that solution. But the funding can then go to support not only the subscription for learning.com, but also anything else supporting the adoption and implementation. So this could be professional development, this could be devices. We are encouraging folks, because we're at the end of the fiscal year, to use those funds and that first allotment for the subscription, just to make sure that those get expended before those funds revert. But that's a great question. Those funds can support anything in addition to that subscription, devices, professional development, to help the adoption and implementation within your district. And then I will just mention, so in order to receive those funds, this is how to get started. Please have your finance officer, superintendent, or charter school director complete the NCDPI intent to contract form by May 10th. That deadline had been extended 2 weeks. It was the end of April. It's now May 10th to give you a little bit more time and opportunity to explore this solution. But that intent to contract form was sent directly to those finance officers, superintendents, and charter school directors within Tier 1 counties. If you have not received that, please contact me, hunter.huffman@dpi.nc.gov. I'll make sure that the right people have that link to that intent. And then you'll also, simultaneously, you'll need to reach out to Michelle, and her contact information is on that slide, to then set up that local contract with the vendor directly. And then I put the link at the bottom for the DPI website that gives some more information about our partnership with learning.com. So please feel free to check that out. And then that's actually all of the slides we have. I do see some questions coming in, so let's go ahead and tackle these. Okay, so what PRC will the funds be placed in? That's a great question. I will make sure to get that up on the website as soon as we have that PRC code assigned to it. So thank you for asking that. We'll make sure we get that number out to you guys. Does Learn.com provide teacher professional development? Michelle, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. You know what, I was supposed to mention that. Yes, of course. So that's been a question a lot of you have asked. That is absolutely part of this project. We have blended both in person. We have live and recorded webinars that will be part of this. We absolutely will be able to help with implementation. A lot of you have actually even asked about custom creation. In other words, ways that we can help you figure out how you're going to implement some of these things inside of your already pre-existing curriculum, whether it's within an LMS or Google or, just within your system, how you could create the curriculum, set up all the lessons and projects that you want to push out from the district. We can support in all of those ways. You will see, if you get the chance to look at the platform, that all of those standards and all of those things are built into the platform. Very easy to use. There's a lot of built-in supports as well, where you can chat with our support team live, and of course, all those other ways, 8 in the morning to 8 at night, your time, Eastern time, that, we run through our support team. And then those custom supports, as I mentioned, having your own, education specialist that can walk you through setup. And then the other piece that I think is super important are those check-in meetings that will happen, just to check in, to check on your process and progress in the program, and just, kind of make sure that everything's on track and that, you guys are getting the most of the program and that we're offering, the most support that we can to make sure that, your kids and teachers are successful.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. And the other question is, in the agreement with Learn.com, are we required to sign a multi-year agreement, for example, 3 years, and will there be additional funding from the state for subsequent years? Great question. No, you are not required to sign a multi-year agreement. You can sign a 1-year agreement with the vendor. However, there will not be additional funding after that first year. And so at this point, we can only guarantee the funding that's already been appropriated by the General Assembly. And so future funding would only be available if there's additional appropriations from the General Assembly. So right now we can guarantee that first year of funding, and then subsequent years will be dependent on additional appropriations. And I see another question. Is there an implementation rubric? Michelle, do you want to address that one, or do you need some more information around what they're asking?
Yeah, I would love that person to reach out to me directly and have a conversation, because I'm not sure about the word rubric. We absolutely have pacing guides, and we absolutely have a lot of, examples of implementation, and we can certainly talk to you about, different scenarios, different ways that this could be implemented. So I probably would need a little bit more information.
Great, thank you. So Julie, please feel free to reach out to Michelle, and her contact information is on the previous slide. So I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. So with that, if there are additional questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Michelle to ask those questions. We'll be happy to work with you all. And again, I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. I don't know if you want to close this out.
I do want to close this out. And again, this is Maria Petrie Martin, and thank you so much for being with us this morning. Hopefully, this has given you additional information to make informed decisions about moving forward. And again, learning.com has been a great partner with us thus far. So I know that Michelle will be more than willing and able to assist you with any vendor-specific questions. And then, of course, we have Hunter Huffman here, who's also very excited to help you with any specific questions regarding the allotments and working through our finance department here.
Great.
Have a great day, and everyone.